Hi, I'm Kyle from Inventive Market. Today I'm going to talk a bit about the process that inventors tend to go through when they've got a good idea and they're not really sure what to do with it. You've spent a lot of time developing it, so you've done a lot of testing, designing, you've looked at market research to understand what the problem is that people are having, and you've come up with a good solution and you think that people really benefit from it. So what do you do now? So there's a wide range of options you can have, but they would probably come down to two primary ones. One is you could try to produce it yourself. So you can start a business. So that's going to be a lot of complexity associated with it. So think about first you have to raise the capital associated with it. Maybe you can self-finance it, but maybe you have to seek some outside investors. There's a whole lot of other complexities to it as well. So there's the legal and regulatory environment that you have to deal with. So you're going to have to consult lawyers. You're going to have to probably hire them, and that's going to be a considerable drain on your funds. Also think about the entire development process. So you're going to have to set up some production facilities. So you might have to buy a factory or lease it possibly. But what about the equipment? I mean, this is going to be just like an open floor space. Maybe you have to buy some heavier equipment, so that's going to need financing as well, along with the expertise to operate it. Maybe this is not an industry that you have a lot of experience in, so you're going to have to hire people to be able to do that for you. There's also the complexities associated with developing the supply chain. So do you know the right place to source the material? Do you have the procurement experience? So do you have the contacts at those companies to do so? What about getting the right deal? Do you know what the right pricing associated with this? Do you know how to develop the contracts associated with it? So there's a ton that goes into actually developing a business that can produce your product and bring it to market. There's also the distribution network, so you're going to have to create relationships with possibly some large retailers. So think of like the Walmarts and Targets of the world, or possibly post it on Amazon. So you're going to need to figure out how to manage that part of the process as well. There's going to be the expenses associated with the marketing campaign. So direct advertisement, maybe connect with some social media influencers to help promote your product. There's a lot that goes into that, and there's a lot of expenses associated with that as well. Again, you might have to start hiring people to do this. There's the administrative costs associated with that as well. So you'll have to hire accountants, customer service people, again, going back to lawyers that you're going to have to deal with. If you have larger facilities, you're going to need people to maintain that. So whether it's hiring someone to repair the HVAC system when it starts to break down, or a custodial staff to maintain the grounds so that people will enjoy coming to work at this place. All of that's going to eat into your profitability of it. So you want to think about, oh, hey, there's this great opportunity out there, but once you start drilling down, take care of all those expenses associated with it, you might only be getting a couple percentage points of that revenue in terms of actual net income associated with that. Worse still, there's all the risk associated with it. So if you're not experienced in that industry, there's going to be a lot of learning curve that you're going to have to go through, a lot of pitfalls along the way. And even at the end of that, it's a business. It's not just a one product and then you're done. If you want to run a business, you're going to have to keep on innovating, keep coming up with new products to keep people coming into the door. Otherwise, the investment that you made into that, it might be very difficult to actually convert that into actual, money in my pocket. There's an alternative option though. And this is one that Inventive Market is trying to specialize in, which is the idea of licensing your product out to another company that's already in the business of what you want to do. So this is a pretty well-developed industry in certain segments. So like the toy industry is very big into this. So there are people that come up with toy ideas all the time and are submitting them to the Hasbros and Whammos of the world. There's other industries that do this quite well as well. So kitchen and homeware do it as well. And it can vary though. Some industries are not very receptive to this. So it's one of those kind of things you want to think about whether or not this is the path for you. Should also take into consideration the industry that you're trying to market your product into. One of the last components that you want to think about when you're whether it's running the business or if you're trying to license it, is there is this thing called the product life cycle. So a lot of products are not going to be on the market forever. Some of them have certainly been around for a while, but most of them tend to have a couple of years and then they tend to dwindle off. So think about Kodak film. Not a lot of people are buying disposable cameras anymore, despite the fact that when I was younger, it was a very, very big deal. So that's a big component of this, particularly when you're running a business. You have to keep that in mind, and that's why you have to keep putting out new products over time. Same with if you're going to license it to a company. But there it creates a bit of an advantage for you. So if you think about it, okay, if I license my idea to a company, I've got basically a fixed time period, but I'm deferring all of that other stuff that we just talked about. So all that stuff about the capital investments that go into it, managing the staff, managing the production process, all those legal hurdles that you'll have to deal with, most of that is taken care of a company that's already been doing this for many years, particularly ones that are in industries in which they're really experienced at producing these kind of products. And more importantly, if they're experienced in licensing products from outside of their own company. So what ends up happening in those kind of situations, you license it to a company, you get a royalty associated with it. So you get a certain amount of income. It might be a fixed contract. Maybe it's based on a percentage of revenue. Maybe it's on a fixed price associated with the number of physical units of whatever you're selling gets shipped out to the market. But if you think about it, the royalty rate, the standard is usually around 5%, but it definitely varies. It's going to vary between industry, and there's other factors that go into it, which we'll touch on in a few minutes. So as I mentioned, you get to defer the risk associated with this. So, when it comes to not just the cost associated with bringing it to market, but there's also the chances, like just poor execution associated with it. Like if you don't have a lot of experience in business, there's a lot of mistakes that you'll make along this process. You can remove all of that part of that big question mark. You can remove that, because the people that you're working with have already done that so many times that they know all of those pitfalls that you would end up making along the way. So you can get rid of that problem associated with it. Again, they might already have a production process that your product can slot right into, and it can really reduce the cost associated with it. But again, when it comes down to that, what are you benefiting from it? You more or less might net out the same amount. So if you think about a lot of companies, maybe they have like a 3 to 5% net income as a percentage of revenue. Well, if your royalty rate is 3 to 5%, you're more or less getting the same benefit from your idea as you would trying to run an entire company. And you get to remove all of the hassle associated with it, and you get to reduce all those big question marks that come along with it. All that risk, you get just kind of defer it onto someone else, and you don't need to worry about it. Okay, so let's say you decide that you want to go ahead with this idea of licensing your idea to another company. The biggest problem you're going to run into is, who do I talk to? So you're going to reach out to a whole bunch of different companies, but are you sure you're really getting hold of the right person? Like, what if you get hold of a secretary in the accounting department? Is this the right person to talk to? Maybe, maybe not. What you want to do is you want to find a couple of key people. What is often recommended is you want to talk to people that are in generally marketing, an inventor relation group that you can reach out to. Again, product development, but you can probably find someone in marketing. Marketing people will be able to, if they're not the right person to speak to specifically, they'll know who to talk to, and they'll want to, because they want to be out bringing those new products to market. But as I mentioned, there's a wide range of sophistication within this space of open innovation and product submission. You'll have some companies that are very good at this, that build their entire business models out of getting ideas from other people, deciding what works and what doesn't work, and bringing those products to market. There's going to be some that are in the middle that are open to it, but have a lot of not quite strings attached, but a lot of barriers to get through. The far end of that spectrum, which is going to be companies that are very, very risk averse, and they're not going to want to just invest in any old idea that comes along. They're usually going to, instead of accepting ideas from outside inventors, they're often going to be looking for something that has an established market, something that can fit into their portfolio, and then they'll usually acquire a company that's already doing something in that sector. So again, what you're trying to do here is, if you want to get your idea brought to market and really profit from it, you need to be thinking about it from the other side of the negotiation. You got to think about it from the standpoint of the other company. What can you do to make it cheaper for them And that'll be more likely for them to say, yeah, I like your idea, let's go with it.